Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day. My name is Paul Bunyan, and you know, sometimes I just have to stop and ask myself, what would Jesus do? But then I remember, it's right here, in the PHP. Yes, the cleric. Of course, it's so simple. Of course, cleric is what Jesus would do. And it's what you should do too, and I'm about to tell you why. I'll be going over the cleric as a whole, as well as their many subclasses called domains. There are 13 domains between the books I'm going to be talking about, those being the PHP, Xanathar's Guide, Tasha's Guide, and Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. So yeah, you're getting 2 videos. One with the basics and a few domains, and one with nothing but domains and some of my extra thoughts. You're welcome. So, a cleric is the end-all be-all of divine spellcasters. Through the raw power of faith or a legitimate connection to a god of your choice, you become a divine instrument in the mortal world. You spread the good word of your chosen deity, increasing the number of the faithful, and in exchange, that god will grant you magnificent power. This makes them terrifying things to see on the battlefield. Clerics can do it all. They can crowd control, tank, deal damage, and yes, they can heal. And yes, we have all heard the jokes and memes about clerics being healers. And yes, I shall parrot literally every other D&D lover in existence, as well as all the other many D&D YouTube channels, and tell you that this stereotype is wrong, but it's also kinda well-deserved at the same time. It's wrong because clerics are not the only healers in D&D. Druids, bards, paladins, rangers, and even subclasses of sorcerers and warlocks can heal. Not to mention there's always these things called healing potions, you might have heard of them. You can buy them or make them yourself. So clerics aren't forced into the healer role if you don't want to be forced into it. However, the stereotype is also well-deserved because out of everyone that can heal, yeah, the cleric has the best healing spells and the best healing abilities, which I'll get to in a minute. Regardless of what kind of cleric you want to be, it's important to sit down with your party, talk to your DM, decide what kind of cleric you're going to play and what you would like to play. After all, everyone is going to love a healer, but if you don't want to be a healer, then don't be a healer. No one's forcing you to. And if someone is forcing you to, find a different group to play with immediately. Okay, tirade over. Time to move on to the cleric as a whole. So, an important thing I need to say beyond the whole healer thing is that clerics are one of the only types of casters that have access to their entire spell list from level 1. Every time you take a long rest, you can swap out your prepared spells for new ones, as long as you have those spell slots available to cast them. For example, if you are a certain level cleric and you can cast up to level 3 spells, you can take a long rest and swap out your spells all the way up to level 3 for any other spells up to level 3 in your spell list. The only other caster class that can do this is the Druid, and to a lesser extent the Wizard. Take advantage of this. If your party is doing fine and doesn't need all those healing spells, take a rest. Pick up some damaging spells instead, or maybe some crowd control or buff spells. Finally, if you feel like your party is taking advantage of you as a healer and is never giving you the time of day, cut them off. Do not heal them. Let them die. It might sound like a dick move, but you know what's an even bigger dick move? Rushing into a fight that you can't win and demanding heals from your healer without a second thought as to what the healer's player would like to do. If this doesn't work, and all you get is more grief, then you need to find a different group. I cannot stress that enough. Healers are super important, and if you pick the role of one, I am on my knees thanking you. I grovel at your feet because Lord knows I'm not going to pick healer, and as such, you deserve every ounce of praise you get for even one measly cure wounds. It's a tough pill to swallow, but D&D is about fun, and if you're not having fun, something is wrong. No matter how you choose to play them, the cleric is divine wrath incarnate, and the world will learn of your Lord and Savior one way or the other. Clerics are a threat to everything on the battlefield, as I said, but they have a particular sweet spot for destroying the undead. At second level, all clerics gain the ability Turn Undead, which causes undead up to a certain challenge rating to flee in terror from your glorious body. As you go up in levels, the CR of the undead you can turn increases, and eventually you will be so divinely awesome that the undead just disintegrate around you. Your next ability comes at level 10, called Divine Intervention. You have God on speed dial, and you can ask him for a favor, and there's a small chance he'll say yes. By level 20, your bond with your god is so strong that they will come running whenever you call. I cannot get over the sheer immense power of this ability. Just picture it real quick. You're in a battle. Moloch, the grand demon, is laughing about how you cannot stop him, and how you puny mortals shall all die. But then you kinda just clap your hands twice, and poop! You've spawned a 50-foot-tall dragon god that blasts the demon lord into dust before he's even done monologuing. It's ridiculous, and I love it. Now, it's time for the subclasses, hitherto called Clerical Domains. The domains are defined by the nature of the god you worship. For example, if you worship Ares, the god of war, you become a war cleric. Simple, right? Remember, gods often have multiple domains, but you only get to pick one. Clerics that worship different gods of the same domain might have thematically different approaches, but mechanically they'll work the same. Like two characters in an MMO with different factions and different skins, but the same mechanical abilities. Each domain gives you bonuses to spells and new abilities, and I know you want to dive into the 13-foot deep pool of subclasses, so let's go. The Knowledge Domain. Ruled by gods that want to know everything. And they'll help you know everything too. Do you want to know why hot dogs come in packages of 10, but hot dog buns come in packages of 8? They know. Do you want to know the secrets of the universe and why that number is 42? They know. This turned the Knowledge Clerics into know-it-all skill monkeys. Their channel divinity gives you proficiency with any skill or tool of your choice for 10 minutes. You gain expertise in any lore skill check of your choice. You can read minds, you can scry objects and rooms to know who touched them last, and later on, you get potent spellcasting, which adds your wisdom modifier to the damage of your cleric spells. The Knowledge Domain is an awesome subclass that turns you into a walking encyclopedia of the party. Really great for puzzles and out-of-combat encounters. Okay, so everyone knows clerics don't have to be healers. I went on a tirade about that. But the Life Domain doesn't give you much of a choice. The Life Domain is for those who want to embrace the healer and concede themselves to knowing that they will be doing little to no damage in most fights. If you main Mercy in Overwatch, you'll feel right at home. Your channel divinity lets you heal people up to 5 times your cleric level, you can use it multiple times, you can spread the love and heal multiple people at once, and you can do it from up to 30 feet away. The only downside to this is that you can only heal up to half your character's max HP, but that drawback is nothing compared to what you get. You get buffs to healing abilities and spells as well. You can heal yourself when you heal anyone else, because the power of love, I guess. And, eventually, you always heal the maximum amount. You also get heavy armor proficiency and a Radiant Divine Strike, making you a frontline medic, wading through no man's land and reviving your allies and bashing a few enemy heads in at the same time. Moving on, the Light Cleric is the embodiment of... You impose disadvantage as a reaction, your channel divinity dispels darkness and burns people who look at you too long, you get potent spellcasting, the light spell if you didn't already have it, and a multitude of fire spells. After all, light comes from the sun. And what is the sun if not a giant flaming cancer ball? Have you looked at the Druid and thought, nature magic is cool and all, but I don't want to hug trees and eat weird mushrooms to get that power? Well, the Nature Domain has got you covered, essentially making you a legally distinct half-Druid. Of course, you get the free Druid cantrips, some proficiencies, a channel divinity that lets you bend plants and animals to your will. Your features lend themselves more towards a frontline focused role. You get heavy armor proficiency, a divine strike of any elemental damage, and you can use your reaction to give elemental resistances to your allies. So why play this instead of a Druid? It's simple. Druids get wild shape and you ain't no furry. Nah, but seriously, the Nature Domain is actually pretty fun for playing like a Druid in disguise. Like I said, it's more for flavor. Tempest Clerics are the wrath of the storm brought to life. You push people around, zap people with lightning, and make the job of your local weatherman an absolute nightmare. You get proficiency with martial weapons, you get proficiency with heavy armor, and anyone who tries to hit you with a melee weapon will find a shocking surprise. Your channel divinity lets your lightning and thunder attacks deal maximum damage, you get lightning-flavored divine strike, and you can eventually fly around in your own personal storm. All you need now is a hammer, a prankster little brother, and a long list of daddy issues, and you're ready to be an Avenger. Speaking of, did you watch The Avengers and fall madly in love with Tom Hiddleston? Congrats! You are now a cleric of the Trickery Domain. Aside from your Poison Divine Strike, this domain is one of the few cleric subclasses that is not meant to get into the thick of the fight. You get the ability to give someone else proficiency in stealth checks. Your channel divinity lets you create copies of yourself. These copies can cast spells for you, and you can create up to 4 of them at once. Or, you can use it to just turn invisible for a turn. That might not seem like a lot, but invisibility is killer in any situation, especially if you use it creatively. If you forced yourself to watch the entirety of the Loki series, you'll feel right at home with the Trickery Domain. That's all we have time for today. Be sure to leave a comment down below about which clerical domain you're a part of, subscribe for part 2, and maybe support me on Patreon or Ko-fi so I can financially recover from the Christmas season. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have fun on your next adventure.